What is the stupidest way that you have ever hurt yourself? Was reaching across the garden tub to get an empty shampoo bottle when I sneezed something ferocious, pulled a muscle in my back. Spent about 20 minutes belly down bent like a U with the tub frame crying and trying to roll over, followed by an hour or so trying to get righted and then raised out of the tub. Then I had to spend about 45 minutes trying to get dressed before driving myself to the doctor. The doctor told me to come up with a better excuse for my injuries. I was also busted from the tub impact. I used a cane for almost 6 months afterwards and will never have another garden tub. We rented a 16-passenger van for a trip over the summer. The first day as I was getting in the van I almost sat on the female part of the seat belt buckle. So the second day I thought, I'll scoot over really far before I sit down on seat and I'll miss the seat belt. Overconfident, I launched myself into the seat and came down hard on the seat belt and bruised the hell out of my tailbone. 5 months later, it's still giving me trouble. Doctor says there's nothing that can be done about it and I just have to let it heal. You know the cement bumper things in parking lots? One evening, I was running to the car for fun and jumped to avoid one. Well, there were 2 of them, back to back turned out, and I tripped on the second one, fracturing my arm in 2 places. As if that wasn't dumb enough, I may even have made it worse after that. I thought it was a sprain that just really hurt and so did my host family, so I attended their party, even slept on it till my mother came and got me the day after and brought me to a doctor. As a young kid, living in Southern California, the annual draining of the pools in the neighborhood provided the perfect place to hone our skateboarding skills, sans pads and helmets. Which led to the weekly injury that typically resulted in stitches if you got off lucky. After a while, that wasn't enough. We had to use some bricks and plywood to create a ramp so we could try and jump the width of the pool on our sweet BMX bikes. I went first. I still maintain that I almost made it. I worked retail years ago was handing a case of canned dog food up to a guy on the ladder. He was facing away from the ladder and I had the flat half tilted up towards him above my head. Then the corner of the box busted and 1x112 cans hit me on the top of my head. Coworker's position on the ladder and his laughing didn't allow for help and my dumbass forgot my feet worked and I could drop the box move, smiley face, such a tool, no concussion, just sore. I was laughing too. I felt like a total jackass afterwards, confused face, got lucky I had a serious knee surgery and hospital led to infection. Nurse brings 3 cups on ice cream and 1 Jello. I ended up choking on Jello, almost bulk out, yanking the 4th holder to ground and broke panic button, bedmate screaming. Staff couldn't believe it happened and was shocked. 3 hours the news showed up. I refused to go on camera or verify incident. Thankful I wasn't being a dick to staff. Trust in the phrase "cheer food." We were all outside as kids catching fireflies and I ran inside to grab a jar to put them in for the next 10 minutes and then let them out again. My little kid brain said, oh wait, well they obviously need to breathe in here. So I grabbed a knife with my right hand, held the jar with my left hand, and proceeded to stab the top of the jar with intense ferocity to make holes in the lid. I almost sliced my thumb off of my left hand when the knife slipped. It was very hot one day at work at the factory. My job was cleaning 5-bladed gang saws and replacing blades on them as well. I noticed there was a fan spinning in the electrical box attached to the machine. I was very hot. So I reached my hand into the box so the air from the fan would blow up my shirt sleeve. Unfortunately I also got zapped with deadly amounts of electricity. I was not injured or killed though, so I got very lucky. When I was a kid, I was preparing to go down a sliding board. One of my legs was off to the side of the handle as I sat down, lost my balance and suddenly started sliding before I was ready. So that leg stayed at the top, while the rest of me tried to continue down the slide. Dislocated my hip entirely. Quite a lot of years later, I still have pain in that hip. Additionally, 5 days ago, I fell over a retaining wall. I broke my fibula. Brought my bike into the house because of a storm. Bike right next to me, was too lazy to open our sliding door the whole way and just tried to squeeze through a gap. Lost my balance, weight of bike and me pushed the sliding door completely open so I fell on top of my bike to the floor. Couldn't get up without help, because a part of my bike had stabbed deep into my knee. Had to get stitches and now have a somewhat big scar on my knee. When I was in middle school, I was sitting on the bus going home while holding onto those pins with the clicky button on the back to make the tip come out. For whatever reason, I had an impulse to jam it into the seat in front of me, backside first. This resulted in me puncturing my palm with the inky tip of the pin. Regretted it immediately. When the kid next to me asked me why I did it, I didn't have an answer. I still don't. Every major injury I've had was dumb. Broke left arm on a teeter-totter, broke my other arm driving a bike with my dog. Multiple concussions from dumb things like a golf ball, a soccer ball, one-arm boxing, etc. Ripped 2 ligaments in my ankle on a simple ollie, almost cut off my toe with a nail that my dad used that was too long and went through the wall and I was running down the hall. Broke a finger playing touch football. When I was a kid I saw some chick with those really sharp fake nails and I fucking loved it, so when I got home I put my index finger in one of those pencil sharpeners you get in kids magazines and tried to sharpen my finger in hopes of getting a sharp nail. I didn't, I got stitches instead. Best part is that my father thought I was playing with food color and went to play DD with his friends. I was drinking a glass of water and I have no idea what came over me, but I decided to bite down on the glass as hard as I possibly could. It broke in my mouth, speechless face. Also I had big boobs as a teenager, so I jokingly hit my friend with them, which knocked her down onto a giant very random rock. She broke her arm. We had to call her mom to come take her to the hospital and we were so embarrassed. When I was 11, I was sitting with my mother and some of her friends around a campfire. Me being the clown that I am, I go over to the fire, start spinning, and yell out, "Look, Mom, I'm a rotisserie chicken." My life then flashed before my eyes as I tripped on a stick and fell backward into the fire. My hands and back were cinched, and I spent 3 weeks wrapped in gauze bandages. Oh, I know I had very bad diarrhea and was severely dehydrated because of it. I was on the toilet doing the business and severely uncomfortable. Things were going down and I sneezed, slipped on the toilet and hit my head on the floor mid-poop. So I was down on the floor and things were still going down like poo things and the floor was badly messed up. Breaking up ice on the sidewalk with a crowbar, blizzard of 96 when my dad told me not to. I was 9 at the time. That baby right through the boot and into my toe. I lucked out, maybe only a hairline fracture, but couldn't walk right for over a month. Never told my dad. I held in my screams long enough until I had a earshot. Sliced off the tip of my thumb with a mandolin less than 2 weeks after the same thumb healed from being sliced off by the same mandolin. It won't happen again. That sucker went in the trash. It had the holder but didn't actually hold, so I wanted to start slicing and got carried away both times. Now I know I can trust myself. Opened radiator cap after driving a car 170 km non-stop at almost constant 100 km/h. Fortunately before I completely opened cap it just flew away from the pressure as soon as I opened it, like 85, and only cap hit my face and I was fine in a couple of days, otherwise that extremely hot radiator water would have messed up my face for life. Climbing a mountain at night, in the rain, leading a pack llama. I was working as a camp counselor. We were coming back from a camping trip down the mountain. I lost my balance, slipped, and put my hand down hard on a sharp rock. Cut it all the way to the bone. Lost feeling in my pinky finger for years afterwards. Joined in playing football with some boys in my year at school to try and flirt when I was around 13 yo. One of them passed me the ball. I somehow managed to trip over my own feet, fall in a pile and fracture metatarsals in both feet. Ended up in double casts and using the wheelchair at school for nearly 2 months. Learning to use a sewing machine in 8th grade, I ran the needle through my index finger. I was paralyzed and couldn't remember that all I had to do was manually turn the wheel to lift the needle. I just sat there staring at my finger stuck in the machine and calling my mom, who didn't hear me forever it seemed. When I was a kid we had blue carpet in the living room. I had just watched some movie or show where the characters jumped into a painting and I started thinking maybe if I believed really hard, the blue carpet would turn into a vast ocean. So I climbed up on the recliner and swan dove into the floor. Age 12. Was playing with box cutters holding it samurai style. When I swung to cut a tall stalk of outgrown weed, it slipped out of my left hand and cut my left index finger to the bone. Luckily I didn't cut my tendon off, but I have a 180-degree wraparound stitch scar left on my finger. When I was a child, I casually walked around the room and scratched my leg badly on a screw that stuck out of a side of a bed. And when I say badly I mean it many blood etc. It was quite an unpleasant look, let's say. Until now I have a scar on my leg. Macron su Macron. I live in Minnesota, so I am used to kicking snow off my boots by slamming my toe part of the boot down on the ground. Well, it was summer and I happened to get my running shoes absolutely covered in mud, so I instinctively slammed my toes down on the pavement and broke my toes. I was chasing my cousin when we were kids and she ran into the house and slammed the door behind her. I ended up putting my fist through the window of the door. I still have no clue why 7-year-old me did that. 35 years later and I still have some gnarly scars on my knuckles. I was arguing with my then wife about the stability of a plaster wall in our house. She said it wasn't stable. I said it was. Watch. Punched the wall firmly and hit just right and broke my hand. I even had a hammer in my other hand I could have used instead. Fell into a water access hole. Think of a small manhole. The cover was not correct and was covered with mulch. I was cutting between my neighbor's property and ours. It looked like something out of a cartoon. Ended up hurting my leg that required surgery. I once tried to kick a football while falling forward and somehow managed to kick myself with my knee under my chin. That made me bite straight through my tongue. There was a lot of blood, a lot. But apparently the tongue heals pretty well. Not the stupidest, but maybe something different. A few weeks ago I drank some very old flavored vodka 5 years old, and opened, and became violently ill. So please, dump out your old open stuff that you're keeping just in case. Fell off the mini ramp at the skate park like missed judge the distance while walking on top, sprained wrist. It sucked to tell people I got hurt at the skate park then have to explain I was actually just walking while it happened. I refused to wear glasses for a long time. Things kept looking further away than they actually were. The last straw was when I busted my forehead on a shelf because I thought I was in the clear. I have astigmat in both my eyes. While I have a few good options, I sliced my face of beef jerky. I hid a tube of glue for my patients under my pillow and damaged my skin with it. I broke a tooth on watermelon. Feel free to decide which is the dumbest.